This is the Astrology Show podcast with Jessica Adams.
Thanks, Shane. This is your Astrology and Tarot for the week starting Monday, January 13. Firstly, do you have Cancer factors in your birth chart? We have a full moon in Cancer on January 13th. So mixed feelings or polar opposites with the family circle, the house, the apartment, the household, any real estate, your town and country will unfold on January 12, 13, 14. Yet from this comes a terrific solution or big opportunity in June, July. Do you have Aquarius factors? Well, the sun enters Aquarius on January 19. This sheds light on friendships and groups. Handling this level of power is a delicate matter, and it is worth giving time and energy to your friends and the circle. Your tarot this week can be decoded on my website, jessicaadams.com. So Aries, the Emperor, Taurus, the Fool, Gemini, the Two of Pentacles, Cancer, the Lovers, Leo, the Six of Pentacles, Virgo, the Three of Swords, Libra, the Ace of Staves, Scorpio, the Two of Staves, Sagittarius, the Ace of Pentacles, Capricorn, the Ace of Cups, Aquarius, the Fool, and Pisces, the Three of Cups. If it's your birthday this week, then happy birthday. You will sign off from a decision about the money, the house or the apartment by February, but make sure the deal is one that you can both or all live with long term. Babies born this week will find that a brother or sister in their lives now or just under discussion is a big story right up until May when the chapter closes. And now your astrology prediction. Aries, you are starting the year with Uranus in Taurus in your cash zone for the last time. Life since 2018 with property and money has been a financial roller coaster, up, down, and sideways. You can be broke or wealthy in this cycle or just in between. But again, this week, you need to get real about the new unpredictable. Yet from July, finances will be more certain. And in fact, the lack of certainty will go by 2026. At the moment, you need a system which will help you and a strategy that will accommodate you because life continues to zigzag, no matter if it's the bank, other people, your home, or the share market. At this point in your life, it's irrelevant if you're feeling rich or poor. You also have an asteroid called Aesculapia in your money zone this week. So something or someone that you thought was virtually over will come back from the brink in January. It may be a deal that you had assumed was finished, a property that you thought had gone past its use-by date, a charity or a bank account. You also have Vesta, Juno and Apollo, 3 more asteroids in Scorpio, again in your finance sector, but this rules other people. So this may be a will or inheritance and your parents or children, or it may be a mortgage and your marriage. It's on that level. So I'll go through these 3 asteroids for you. Vesta is about a situation with male, female, lack of balance, and there may be issues here about one male and control with 2 or more females. Juno is about commitment, and Apollo is about who's taking the lead. So when you put those 3 into Scorpio and your 8th house, what you have is a situation that's not so much about the money or the house or the apartment or the business. It's about the personalities and the people. With Juno there will be a sign-off commitment by February, and that's showing up at the other end of your chart too. But the thing to remember about these transits is that you might want to check the terms and conditions because life will be unpredictable right up until July. And Uranus has a habit of delivering the last thing that you expected. So look at the clauses and the terms and conditions quite carefully before you sign or accept a signature by February. Taurus, you have until mid-2025 to use lucky Jupiter in your 2nd house of finance and property, and you have already taken up an opportunity and done well with it last year. Jupiter is about abundant opportunities, big solutions, and tremendous hope for a bigger and better future. And you are also now well out of Mercury retrograde because you were spinning your wheels with shares, business, property, salary, and so on in November, December 2024. Here's a quick way through Jupiter in the second house, which can only happen to you every 12 years. So it's a case of use it or lose it by June. Those developing or new financial, business, or property choices give you something so simple with aspects of your taxation, accounting, or investment, even your possessions if you're on eBay. When I look at your birth chart, I can also see a big focus on your husband, your wife, your parents, and so on, your close connections in life, at least in terms of the budget. So this is personal. If you have anything in Cancer in your birth chart, it's very much about the real estate, the lease, the household, or the family, and the bridge that you cross on the full moon, which is a case of no perfect solutions, will turn into a fantastic opportunity or big answer after June 2025. If you are going to buy or lease, or you're selling or renting, be aware that Mars is going backwards in this zone of your personal chart, and you need to allow for delay or flux in the process. But back to Jupiter in Gemini. Overall, financially, with everything that you own, earn, or owe, you will be in the luck zone until June and should watch for opportunities, take a punt on them, have a chance in your hand and see what happens. Gemini. This Mars retrograde in Leo cycle will teach you how to make the relationship with your brother, sister, or cousin work. It will also ask you to come up with more effective ways to use the internet or the media. And finally, this cycle will show you how to manage travel and commuting. So basically, all of this is in your third house. The sibling, the cousin, the internet, the short journeys are in a holding pattern. It was on the agenda and it will come back again later because Mars is action and retrograde is backwards, and Mars is about to go vanishing for several months. So what was such a burning issue as 2024 ended is now off the agenda, but will come back. Meanwhile, there are solutions and there are answers probably coming from a woman or a man who has a female kind of intelligence. So let's talk about Minerva, the asteroid in Leo. This may be your brother or sister or your cousin to start with. The wisdom is there if you want to tap into it. It's not a quick or easy answer, but there is a deep and profound intelligence there, probably coming from a woman who has either been through this herself with her own cousin, brother, or sister, or who has professional qualifications in that area. In addition to this, there are all sorts of issues here about the media or the internet which need a solution. And you can turn to somebody who is going to reach deeply into her reservoir of knowledge and experience to help you. Finally, there are still questions here too about how to get around. Commuting, your car, public transport, or short regional journeys, for example, from one state of the US to another, or from London to Paris. So you'll come back to this when Mars goes back into Leo on April 19 and replay a situation which moved very fast until January 6 and then stopped. For now, though, Minerva will bring you answers and answers you need. Cancer. Here comes the Aquarius weather into your finance, business, charity, and home zone. So let's look at the lease, the mortgage, or the property investment first. You need to become a DIY expert on all this stuff now so that you can be constantly updated about everything from your legal situation with a landlord to the reality of hiring a builder. You also have the Sun in Cancer in your zone of real estate, rental, town, and country back in your personal birth chart. So this full moon is telling you the same thing in two stories, private and personal. There is a bridge to cross this week, but it will be a big opportunity or solution after June. You also have Panacea and Mars retrograde in Cancer, all picking this up backwards. So the real story is a deal on the table by February, which may involve a lawyer and will definitely involve a lot of horse sense. By that, I mean this is about sharing the turf with the other person or the other people. So let's talk about these two dwarf planets, Sirius and Pluto. A power or control structure must now be thoroughly understood at the bank, at home, in business, with the government, with employers, and so on. So this may be about interest rates or lodgers, depending on your personal situation. Understanding that the power and control needs to be shared and the reins need to be divided between you both or between you all will be the priority at the moment, heading towards a major sign-off decision in February. But what you sign off on has to work in the real world. It is not enough to have it working on paper and have people paying lip service to it. As you'll see in 2025, it always comes back to who has the power here and who is feeling empowered or disempowered by certain arrangements. That's why it's worth taking your time this week as you look at the numbers. But later on by February, you may want to look at the human aspects of it as well. Leo, if you work full-time or part-time, then this Sun and Mercury in Capricorn cycle will reveal what you missed earlier in terms of details about your job. You'll need more focus on your mind, body, and spirit now, your daily routine and your health. Of course, doctors and dentists will tell you this is essential anyway, and so would a psychologist. But for the next week or so, it's really vital to see what you missed before about the mind, body, and spirit. Back over in your birth chart, you have Volcano and the South Node in Virgo in exactly the same horoscope zone, well-being and workload. So if you have anything in Virgo in your birth chart, you can double this message. It all has to work together. And if it has not been working, then now is the time that you'll make decisions that make sure that it does work for you. This is a time of total focus on service and duty to others, but your first duty has to be to yourself. I want to talk a bit about the end of Pluto in Capricorn, which happened in November last year, and the fact that now is the time to appreciate that all the power and control that others held has now vanished. Now, there are a couple of reasons for this. Either the person or the organisation has gone stage left or is going that way, or you may have changed and turned to an alternative person or organisation to assist you. Either way, the end of Pluto in Capricorn is the end of an era. The old way of coping and managing that you have adopted since the year 2008 is no longer required. And there is also a big new focus on things that you've been missing about your health on all levels, with answers there this week. Virgo. Aquarius weather is here in your solar sixth house of workload and well-being. In your natal or birth sixth house too. You have the South Node in Virgo and you were born with the Sun there. That's why your sign is associated with the wholeness of the mind, body and spirit and the relationship between work and life balance. So check in every few days or so in January to see if everything that you've developed or set up is actually worth all your effort. In both charts I use for you, the personal and the solar, you have a week of pending decisions, but also you may be ready to act. Pluto is in your sixth house with Ceres, so by February the deal will be done. It may be a gym membership, it may be relinquishing a job or accepting a reshuffle at work that has an impact on your health or fitness. If you are unemployed or have a full-time home life, the same very new questions about how much power you have and how much control you have will face you this week, as well as face the professional Virgos out there. In this Pluto cycle, getting a second and third opinion is a very good idea because once you sign off on this by next month, you'll be living with it for a long time. And it doesn't matter if it's your doctor or whether it's your employer or staff. There has to be an understanding that there is new power in the space that was not there before. This is a very new cycle, and you may have to rapidly adjust to that with Pluto and Ceres in your sixth house this week. Ultimately, by February, the arrangement will be sharing the reins, sharing the time, the turf, or the territory, doing a deal with other people, or doing a deal with God. If you're a Kate Bush fan, on whatever level it works for you, deal making is the phrase of the week. Libra. This emerging Aries cycle with Salacia, Chiron, Hygeia and Fortuna, all in Aries, all in your opposite sign, will affect your other half or the other side, your marriage, your partnership, your dating, your professional partnership, and the state of play with anyone against you, a rival or enemy. In May, Neptune and Saturn are both there for the first time. May could even be in your diary in terms of a deadline for, say, a separation or divorce, or a business contract with a professional partnership. In any case, you are between selves and lives this week and need to take stock with or about this man or this woman, because from May, this will be absolutely central, and this week helps to set it up. Along with the partnership questions now, ex or current, there will be potent new issues about your children or any children that you hope to have. Pluto is in your solar 5th house. That's in your Libran chart, and in your personal chart, Minerva in Leo is in your natal 5th house. So the immediate focus is the world of babies, children, teenagers, or a younger generation, and how the control is to be shared, how the power is to be handled. And this has been evident since last November, when everything changed. You have Pluto and Ceres, both in Aquarius, and a sign-off decision will be here by February. Child custody is in the spotlight for some of you, while in other cases your focus is far more on the relationship or marriage itself, but you cannot ignore the issue here about the children who you own or share, or the children who never arrived at all, because your chart says that's where the really big questions are. You may be dating a single parent, for example. Over in your birth chart, Minerva in your natal 5th house tells you there are answers this week. They will come from a woman or from a man who is in touch with his feminine side, and those answers will not be quick solutions. They will be pretty deep and well thought out, so do take advantage of them. Scorpio. This is the time to stand back and take an objective look at what you are putting together for yourself now with a duet or a duel, for example, a marriage or a period of competition or conflict. You have to ask yourself about the other side or your other half. Is it providing you this week with a sense of freedom, or are you looking at Independence Day in the future? If all goes well now, you will end up with the end of a chapter in July 2025 with or for this person. Uranus goes out of Taurus, your opposite sign, and out of your zone of marriage, work partnership, divorce, legal problems, love triangles, and so on. As they say, it's the sector of the duet or the duel. Right now, it's a case of no rules and new rules yet again, and you have been going through this since 2018, either with this person or with a different person, but it's the same issue. There are no guarantees when you go through this cycle, but against this background, you must make the best judgments that you can about your freedom, her freedom, or his freedom. This even applies to enemies. Along with Uranus in Taurus in your solar 7th house, you also have an asteroid there called Aesculapia. So something or someone that you thought you could write off or was almost over will be back either this week or with clues this week, but with a big comeback or return in February. This is about the other person and their situation with you. And this asteroid called Aesculapia is a symbol of any situation where people are almost at the end or appear to be at the end, but make a huge return. You could call it miraculous. So this, for example, may be the return of a former girlfriend that you had thought was finished in your life, or it may be the return of an issue in a contest or competition that you're fighting, which you realise was never really over at all. In any case, there's a big choice coming about this in the month of February, and this week shows you the clues that point to it. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, the sun in Capricorn now sheds new light on your finance and property, your business or charity, the realities of having other people or organisations so heavily involved in your own situation. The full moon in Cancer, which you can see this week, will light it up for you so that there are the numbers in front of you, but you also have paperwork, news, emails, or letters in the post, and the signatures will be there by February at the very latest. You have to ask yourself if the price that you're about to pay for things financially or in terms of energy is worth it. It may be that you're about to renew or start again with financial, business, or property moves. This full moon in Cancer may be about a will or a mortgage, for example, a prenuptial agreement, or even the bond and the rent. But read the fine print very carefully, you have Mars going backwards and stuck in the same chart zone. So the action is stuck or going backwards for months, and it won't actually resolve until April 18. There may even be mention of April in a contract for some of you or in negotiations. Mars is out of the loop in April, and then you can call this finished. But until then, it's very far from being done or dusted at all. The Cancer-Capricorn axis of your chart, lit by this full moon, is about the difference between your budget and the budget of other people. This may be your husband or wife, your boyfriend or girlfriend, or your financial partner. Figuring out the numbers is one thing, but understanding what you can't put a price tag on is the other thing. And there is no need to rush this. The full moon will ask you to take a full stop on the paragraph and look at this again a bit later when the emotion has gone out of the situation, either for you, him, her, or them. Capricorn. The Aquarius weather is here in your second house of income, budget, banking, shopping and selling, charity and business and the share market. And this is very new. You've hardly had any time really to get used to it. New power is in the space, and that's now here to stay, Capricorn. Pluto shows the empowerment that comes when you find your own willpower and the self-discipline and self-control that you need. Whatever your situation is, with him, her, or them, or even a large organization, the Pluto rule is that if you feel overpowered or lacking full control since November, you turn to your own willpower and self-control to regain it and to become empowered. And that's happening this week. Over in your birth chart, Capricorn, we also have quite a lot of factors in Scorpio and Taurus, which says pretty much the same life area. Finance and property is about a pending decision. You're either still talking or you will see the paperwork signed by February. Pluto and Ceres in Aquarius in your solar second house tell you that there will be quite strong feelings here which need to be parked at the door if you, he or she have not already done that, because the feelings will get in the way of cutting a deal or having a compromise on the table. That deal or compromise has to work for you and they all year, and it requires a fair bit of practical thinking as well. So you may want to come in with a third party who is not involved, an objective outsider, to give you a different perspective. At the end of the day, what looks to be something that is about the numbers or the possessions or property is actually about how the reins are going to be shared between yourself and a second or third party. Aquarius. Well, here we have a classic full moon example of issues around work, unpaid work, or academia, which will result in terrific new beginnings in around 5 or 6 months. The full moon in Cancer, in your zone of workload and well-being, also asks you to think about your health, physical and mental health this week. You also have Mars retrograde in Cancer, the same thing, same chart zone. So you're unlikely to feel as if the jigsaw is complete this week. Maybe health is your issue. Maybe you are preventative health conscious this week, or you actually have an issue to deal with. And then there's a big question about your work, your housework, your study, your unpaid work. What is going backwards or stuck will go forwards when Mars has finished his loop, and that's April 18. So actually this week is part of a longer cycle. But I mentioned that from this week comes the biggest and best later on. In fact, the opportunities and solutions are at a high, not possible in 12 years, and that starts on June 10. So Jupiter in Cancer, in your zone of well-being and workload, tells you that in the future, big answers are coming, and it wouldn't be possible without the bridge that you have to cross this week. This full moon, which you will see over the rooftops this week, is telling you that this is all taking you somewhere, and it has to be a turnaround for your lifestyle and your work-life balance, which is hinted at right now, but real by the middle of the year, and it lasts until the middle of 2026. Pisces. When it comes to your working life and your well-being, you can expect stop-start, circular timing, and even cancellation with the professional, academic, or vocational situation. If you don't have a full-time or part-time job, then this applies to your other role and goals. You may be a volunteer or a carer. Mars retrograde in Leo left you spinning your wheels, probably with work or health, on January 6th, not so long ago. This cycle comes back on April 19, when the whole story is rewritten for you. It may have been a new doctor, it may have been a reshuffle at work, or a direction with your health insurer. This all takes place in your sixth house of well-being and workload for a reason, because this week you have a solution, but later on you will have to pick it all up again and rewrite what you thought was the end game. And all of this did start back on November 5. While there is a gap, though, this week, there is a clever woman or a female form of intelligence answering your questions about your well-being or your workload. This is shown in your chart by Minerva, a very powerful asteroid in astrology, and her symbol is the owl. I mention this because whenever you talk about Minerva, you get synchronicities. So it's amazing how often people report sightings of owls or images of owls turning up in their life. That is a bit of a message from the universe for you that there is a wise old owl in the picture. With your work or well-being, there are solutions over the short term. But just a reminder as well that later on, you're going to have to pick all this up again and play it one more time. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch up with you next week.